Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live Extra. I'm Luaimi Adelakon, and this is where we break down the stories that will shape conversations for the rest of the day.
I'm Anuluwa Boido, and we begin this morning with a key diplomatic move as President Bola Tinubu approves the posting of 4 ambassadors designated to the United States, France, and 2 other countries. We'll look at what this signals about Nigeria's foreign policy direction and its engagements with the global community.
And Samson Balogun is my name, and alongside that we'll bring you the weather outlook and a full Daybreak news update to keep you informed as you step into your day.
And we also examine today's newspaper headlines, breaking down how the media is framing the major political, economic and social issues competing for public attention.
So much to tell. Our big story then takes a closer look at education, asking an important question: academic excellence versus all-round development. How do we strike the right balance in modern education? As pressure mounts on students to perform, we explore what holistic learning should really look like. And we also ask whether enough attention is being paid to character, creativity, and real-world skills.
Right after that, joining us for that conversation is Chief Olanshile, the President of the Union of Campus Journalists, University of Ibadan, who will share insight on preparing students, not just for exams, but for life beyond the classrooms.
Definitely. And to wrap things up, we head into Trend tracking the issues gaining traction in the public space today.
This is Daybreak Live Extra. Stick with us and let's have this beautiful time together.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning to you guys. I mean, it's a beautiful day, for many reasons. I think one of the things that came to mind when I woke up this morning was one of the content I saw, AI content that says, you don't have to bath every morning. I said, yes, that's it. That's more like it. I could as well just, because the Hamadan is...
Just when you thought, okay, well, maybe we are relaxing, and then boom, Hamatan showed up this morning.
For a moment, I thought I woke up in another country. I mean, because yesterday was always cold.
Or
Canada.
I mean...
But then, sometimes it's just like that. The weather is actually unpredictable. Sometimes it's predicted that there will be rain, and then there will be no rain. But then, regardless of where you find yourself, get yourself a cardigan, because you might just be in for a long drive when it comes to the issue of Hamatan.
Hamatan is finally fighting for his rights.
Absolutely. Well, then let's talk about the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In some quarters, they will call him Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, just like some developments a few months ago, where we're talking about ambassadorial roles in the country. These roles, these positions have been vacant for over 2 years. Since he came to office, there has been nothing like ambassadors anywhere. And then there were names that were shortlisted, screened on the floor of the House, but eventually some of them are getting postings. And we have seen postings to the United States, just as predicted. It's still the candidate that was predicted to be going to the America, and then France. It's more or less like the president is beginning to block some holes and see how Nigeria can form international relationship with some other countries, especially relationships that have broken down in recent times.
Yeah, I think you're very spot on. And then Aristotle says something that anybody who says, I want to stand alone, is either a beast or a god. Regardless of how well you're doing as a country, not to talk of Nigeria, that is still a developing country, you need other people, you need alliance.
Yeah, I mean, is it an insult to call Nigeria a developing country?
It's not an insult. It has been proven severally.
Are we still developing?
We are still a developing country.
Are we stocked?
I don't think we're stuck. If there's a way out, looking at this new nominees
the pace is slow.
Exactly, it's really slow, and it's a sad one. So I was just trying to make the point that we need the alliance and we need to build good relationship, because Nigeria is currently at a very critical stage, because even the developed countries, they still look for a way to build the relationship.
Consolidating power.
Exactly. So it's now, the duty of whosoever it is that will continue. For instance, now, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu, let's say whether he wins or not, someone else will come in. They must maintain that relationship. And then I think this nominees, or there are no more nominees, they were screened, 68 of them last December, and then Nigerians were really, they were intentional about, really announce their opinions online, especially with United States, because they have said, I don't know if you follow Twitter online, Nigerians were like, okay, this certain individual that is part of the nominees, even before they were screened, it should not be sent to US, so because US is a peculiar state, especially with what happened recently with the whole Donald Trump interfering in the affairs of Nigeria. So now that we have this ambassadors for each of these countries, they must get to work. I think they have two major responsibilities. The first one is to try try to look for ways to work on the errors created, because at the time, a lot of policies have affected Nigeria in the last few years. Why? Because we do not have representatives in these countries, so they must look for ways to actually, correct the errors, put Nigeria on a better spot in the global space. And another thing is to come up with new initiatives, because this is the major role of ambassadors. You are supposed to fight for your country on every table to ensure that, okay, your country will not suffer loss on this particular issue. So the first one is to look for ways to correct some of the errors, or let me say the pain that some Nigerians are going through now in these countries, because we lack ambassadors in this country. And then the other thing is to come up with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially with this administration. I think he's been able to get it right with certain appointment, honestly. Because if you look at some persons, some of the ministers, we can see what they're really doing. Yes, there are some that Nigerians are complaining
for the
every
Minister
day.
of Foreign Affairs, I think this is the first time in a long time where you see the Minister of Foreign Affairs everywhere and anywhere trying to defend the country with his life. I mean, I've not really seen much of that before now. Yusuf Tuga.
Exactly. So that's why I said I think the president is very strategic when it comes to appointing people. Yeah, there are a few, I don't know, issues here and there with some of his appointments, but I think he's doing a very good job with his appointment. And I want to believe that these four major countries, France, UK, US, and Turkey, with this appointment, and of course they've been sent out, I want to believe that we'll see changes in terms of the policies. Exactly.
Countries.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the United States. Let's talk about the ambassador designate. I think I was trying to get a profile lowdown on him. Ayodele Oke. I think it's from your state. He was the former Director General of Nigeria's National Intelligence Agency, NIA. He was appointed by...
We predicted that on this show. That might likely be the one headed to the U.S.
All right. So it was appointed then by President Goodluck Jonathan in November 7, 2013. And something to look out for was also the fact that, he's been in the know, especially in that white, because he even before that, he was Nigeria's ambassador to Commonwealth Secretariat in London. He succeeded Ezekiel Oladijo as Director General of Nigeria's National Intelligence Agency in November 2013. Now, there was something that came up during the administration of Muhammadu Buhari. Okay, so was suspended by President Muhammadu Buhari after anti-corruption officers from the FCC, found more than about 43 million US dollars in an apartment at Osborne Towers in Ikoyi, Lagos. And on October 30, was finally dismissed by the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari after the consideration of the reports of the investigative committee headed by the Vice President. So in June 2023, Premium Times also released a statement that time that decided on named inside sources that reported that the NIA DG, which was of course and Ahmed Abubakar, the chairman of the FCC at the time, Abdul Rashid Bawa, met and resolved to terminate the legal proceeding against in the interest of national security. That's exactly a brief of what I got from him. And I mean, yes, it's good to have someone come on board, but it's also good to look into what they have done before, because there's a way the past can tell who the person is. We can see from antecedents if this person has been a credible person, no disregard to his personality. I'm not trying to shame or shade, but I'm just saying that, yes, maybe sometimes we need someone who comes to, that statement that whoever comes to equity must come with clean hands. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Maybe there's really no perfect person. Maybe there's something, maybe it was also cooked up, maybe it wasn't true. But exactly, we don't want somebody that can tarnish, because I know for one, the United States is quite intentional about this kind of relations between Nigeria. In fact, come next week or this week, there's supposed to be a United States designate coming to Nigeria exactly again for conversations on how to to help counter terrorism in the country and to stop Christian genocide, just like they keep mentioning. So it is a very fragile in the story of the narrative of the Nigerian state. So we understand how that must be taken with absolute care. We don't want to miss it in one way. We don't want to do things that might not, be, because if this comes to bear that, yes, he was found guilty of a charge, I'm not sure the United States is going to receive him so well, and that might even snowball into something else that might not be good for the country. But I think I also want to say that I saw so many names too. I saw past governor, I think the governor of Bauchi at one time was also part of the people that were sent recently. But my question
that's
again now,
former governor of Kebbi State.
Kebbi,
is going to Turkey.
All right. So I was asking the question, why some countries and not some countries? I know maybe there's a process that needs to be followed, but how about we doing it maybe just one. So we understand that, okay, our ambassadors are working now, not, okay, we're still waiting for some to start working while others are working. What makes the decision, what was the reason for that choice to say, let's have US, let's have Turkey, let's have UK? Why not every other countries? What does it mean? Maybe it means a lot to the presidency to say we need these people at this very crucial time. But what about other countries too? I know, I'm trying to say, whatever we want to do, let's speed it up a bit. Let's have, not speed in terms of hurry, let's speed it up according to process. I'm not saying doing anything outside of the ordinary, but let's have all of these designates as well represent us, because we need their representation. It's very key. I think we've time and again we've talked about this, how consequential it is to have these people in those quarters. We need this for bilateral relations between our country and the other countries of the world, and we need to start moving as soon as we can. We cannot afford to waste any more time on this.
The reasons why the president had to start with these 4 countries. According to what we read, I think the president is set to travel to Turkey. That's for next week. He just came back recently. And I think maybe it has something to do with the relationship with these countries. I'm talking about Nigeria now, with these 4 countries, because that the UK, the US, France, and Turkey, even before now, we've seen the relationship between the president of Nigeria and, of course, France, and with these other countries. Maybe that is the reason. And one more thing is, yes, it is good to actually find a way to ensure that the postings, happen at once. But then, at the end of the day, we shouldn't rush this process. I mean, yes, we should be careful of who we post, because a lot of Nigerians are expecting some names now.
Right.
Honestly, when I saw the 4 names, I was really expecting some names there, because a lot of Nigerians are expecting some names. They want to know where these people will be posted to, because why? Of their maybe personality and their popularity. The names now. We have the likes of Reno. We have the likes of Femi Fani-Kayode. People are waiting for, okay, where will they post this one to? Because we really need to know, because of their personality and, of course, image, just like you mentioned, of Nigeria. So one more thing is the Senate now, because when they were being screened, something happened, and then some senators were like, just take a bow and go. While some senators, said, no, it won't happen. We need to question them. We need to know what they have for Nigeria. We need to know how well they are going to represent us, because looking at what Nigeria is going through at this point in time, we cannot afford to push out or maybe screen someone and give them a pass when we are not so sure of what they are capable of. So the Senate should not stop there. At the end of the day, even after the posting, they must follow up. Just like you mentioned, the image of Nigeria is very important. And then at this point in time, you have seen cases whereby some persons will go online, say all sorts about Nigeria. It's not helping us,
well,
honestly.
Certainly, the Senate will not stop there. I think this is being done in order of importance as of now. Okay, which countries do we think we need the most at this time? And I think the US, stays right ahead of that pack. Turkey recently has been assisting when it comes to security too, and that, just like Yemi said, the president will be traveling there shortly, and of course there has to be someone who will receive the president when he gets to Turkey. And also the United Kingdom. Yes, we were colonized by the United Kingdom, and definitely someone has to go to the UK. And France, we all know that the president, since he became president, he's been to France God knows how many times, and one of the places he frequents so much is France, and there's a relationship between himself and Emmanuel Macron. So that is also explained in due details. But then, if you look at the pace with which it is being done, one thing I'm not quite clear about is we all knew, because in the first place, a few set of names were sent. They were screened before the others were sent. The second batch was sent. But then, one thing that was not clear is, I think before now, the president knew that these 4 names were top of the list, and he knew exactly where he was sending them. The question is, why did it take them this long to send these names out, and of course give them their portfolios? But that being said, they have been given their portfolios. The first 4, yes, we understand. Let them go out there. But then how fast can you make the rest of these names to go out there? And I also noticed that, just like Yemi said, the president has been a little bit picky when it comes to who does this and that. Regardless of if that person has a questionable character, go and check again and again. There's a level of competence attached to that person. Regardless of, he was once convicted of corruption, he had this, he had that. There's a level of competence attached. Let's say Reno Mokri, for example, he was on the neck of the president he was pressing his neck before the election. He was saying so many things, and eventually after the election, the music changed. Reno is now, obnomy with the president. But then, regardless of anti-Tinubu he did before the election, Look at what he's been doing for Nigeria as a country now. He's been defending the country with his life. And that is the kind of person you want as an ambassador. Someone that can actually go there, not just talking, but talking with facts, empirical facts, just like some people would say out there. Empirical facts, reeling out information and saying, look, go and verify. And if you cannot verify this, it means I'm lying. And he's been doing that even on the social media. So someone like that really needs to go to a country where Nigeria is really suffering when it comes to bilateral agreements. You should be able to, we've got a lot to offer them. In terms of resources, Nigeria is blessed. And these are the things we exchange. You have this, I mean, the world still lives on barter. Even though as humans, we don't do barter anymore. I can't come to you and say, okay, let me give you a phone and you give me this. It's no longer being done, except for in a few cases.
I won't take it.
But then, if you check the world today, oh, let's provide security, let's provide guidance, but you give us oil. This is what is still being done out there. Only in exceptional cases, you still see them exchanging dollars or exchanging euros or pounds. And that is exactly what we want to do now. Let's present to the world what we've got, and then let them give us what we need. And just like we said earlier, the pace with which Nigeria is developing is too slow for anyone, especially for people who have been studying the trajectory since the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. In fact, at a point, I felt Nigeria got stuck somehow and wasn't moving. I feel with some policies introduced by this administration, if properly followed through, if the Senate, does not stop to perform oversight functions, if they keep pressing the neck of the executive to do the right thing, I think eventually Nigeria will get it right. Even though there are some policies that are, anti-people one way or the other, but hey, development does not come, just by dreaming or thinking about it. It comes through pain. But who are the ones that will bear the pain? It's not like you are going to tell me to bear the pain and then you are riding in luxury cars. No, everyone should come back to the same level. Right? Okay, you do this, I give you this. If you want me to pay tax, I will pay tax. But then, will every penny I put in that tax net, will it be accounted for on the roads, on electricity, on enabling environment for businesses to thrive? Will businesses get soft loans so that they can easily spread their wings? These are things Nigerians are looking for. And I think with this process, the way it is being done, even though slow, I think we will get there eventually.
Let me just say lastly before I keep my mouth shut about this issue. Remember, if you recall quite well, our ambassadors were recalled in 2023. This is 2026. Right. It's a long time from now to say we are
It's about 3 years.
I mean, it's just too much we cannot miss that representation for that long. It's nothing to write home about. But I also say that while the president is trying to, gag up things, what about China? Because we mentioned how important United Kingdom,
Russia.
US. So, okay, yeah, that's
South Korea.
China has been
Japan.
in the loop, especially with Nigeria. There's been so much relations. Maybe that's why they felt, oh, we are already talking, so there's really not so much we should hurry up about. Because I think China is also of necessity as of now.
The reason, just before you go, the reason Yusuf Tuga is having too much to do, that you are seeing me everywhere, is because there were no ambassadors in this country. But if there are ambassadors, I think his job will be cut down for him. He wouldn't have to, be everywhere, every time, defending the country.
You have more time to even think.
That's exactly my point now.
Because policies originate from what these people do out there.
Yes.
Oh, you've got this for us. Yes, let's design a policy around this to suit the Nigerian people.
Yes,
because that's where we are going.
I'm saying this because if we cut the government some slack, it will be as if they're already overriding what we should think about. Because I don't want it to be that this is what they give us and that's what we take. No, we can call them to question. We can call, how do you say that thing that you call something to power? We can speak truth to power, to say, yeah. So it's very important that they should not tell us that they are doing 4 countries and then we are okay with it. No, we want more. 3 years is just too much to be planning. What are you planning exactly? We know we don't want you to rush it. It's 3 years is nothing about rushing. If every tenure comes in, there should be that plan and everything should start working. So, it should not be that we're now used to, whenever they do it is when they do it. 3 years after, I say, okay, they did 4, maybe let's wait so that we don't rush them. There's no rushing. Get this done. It's your job, it's your duty. Just like you call me to work, to come to the station and work. And today I say, I'm not working this morning because I'm just coming up. There's something like that. Baba, you're at work, deliver.
Okay, yeah, I think you're very spot on. And one thing I've noticed about this current administration is they listen. They're actually very observant, especially when Nigerians complain online. They are seeing it. I mean, they have highs everywhere. So one way or the other, I just noticed that it's as if they heard also.
When a policy is introduced and then there's, hey, we don't want that, and then immediately it's withdrawn.
Exactly. So I want to believe that the president, of course, the entire administration, they will listen to the cries of the people, especially with deploying the right ambassadors to the country. So at the same time, I want to believe that they do it the right way. We don't want a situation whereby they will say, why is it that even after 3 years, you are still unable to get it right? That should not be our story at this point in time. We need the best ambassadors. You mentioned something about Nigeria dangling. John Campbell wrote a book in 2011. He was, at the time, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria. He said, Nigeria is dangling economically. If care is not taking, things might go worse. 2011, this is 2026. A lot, has gone wrong. So at the end of the day, we should be careful that, whoever we are sending to a particular country, will represent us well, and then the due process must be followed, honestly.
That takes us to a particular Yoruba saying that says, if one prepares to go crazy for 10 years, right? So when eventually goes crazy, how many years will it take him to perform out there?
Yes, to express the craziness.
So, well, maybe one way or the other, I think time put into preparation is way too much, right? And everyone, all hands must be on deck to get this done as soon as possible. We have waited for almost 3 years. Let's see the results. Let's begin to see why we had to wait. And if that is done, I think Nigerians are not asking for too much. I always say this. They just want to make sure that you are doing the right thing. And once that is done, everyone goes back to sleep. They won't complain. But then we'll see what will happen eventually. We'll take weather report on this show.
I need to know what the weather is saying, particularly.
Let's help you plan your day. And we'll be starting with the ancient city of Ibadan. So let's check what the weather looks like in Ibadan today. Ibadan Southwest, to be precise. Weather in Ibadan currently feels like 21 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, there will be a sharp rise to 29 degrees Celsius, while it is partly cloudy at 0%. In the afternoon, another sharp increase to 37 degrees Celsius. I think the weather is far apart today. In the afternoon, to rise to 37 degrees Celsius, also partly cloudy at 0%. Also, another sharp increase in the evening to 27 degrees Celsius. Okay, a decrease to 27 degrees Celsius, while being mostly clear at 2%. At night, just a slight decrease of 4 degrees Celsius to 23 degrees Celsius, and mostly clear at 5% in Ibadan today.
Okay, let's cross over to Lagos this morning. Weather feels like 26 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to rise to 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%, and in the afternoon, 32 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the evening, 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 3%. And overnight, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, clear around 6%. And that's where we are for Lagos this morning.
And from Lagos to Benin today, those states particularly, the weather feels like 22 degrees Celsius. Across border, and it rises by 7 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning to 29 degrees Celsius. And it rises much further by 6 degrees Celsius in the afternoon to 35 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly cloudy, and then it drops in the evening, and it's expected to be clear at 27 degrees Celsius. It drops much further by 3 degrees Celsius overnight to 24 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy in Benin, Edo State today.
All right, as Yemi took Lagos and Ano took Edo State, it's brought back the slang Edo no be Lagos in the last election in Edo State. But then I'll be sticking with the south this morning, and that is Port Harcourt, River State. What the weather looks like in Port Harcourt right now is 22 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning it will rise to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy at 2%. In the afternoon, 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy at 3%. It will be clear in the evening, 24 degrees Celsius at 7%, while overnight it will be partly cloudy at 23 degrees Celsius, 8% right there in Port Harcourt, River State today.
Okay, let's cross over to Benin Airport. I think that's the house of Governor Monday Opebolo. We have weather currently at 22 degrees Celsius, and later is expected to rise to 29 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%, and in the afternoon, 35 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%, and in the evening, 27 degrees Celsius, clear around 4%, and overnight, 24 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 8%, and that's what we have for Benin this morning.
And from Benin now to the Federal Capital Territory, in Abuja today, the weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius across board. Then it rises to 32 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy in the morning. And later in the afternoon, it rises by 4 degrees Celsius to 36 degrees Celsius, also expected to be partly cloudy. Then it drops to 28 degrees Celsius in the evening. The weather is expected to be clear at 0% humidity. And overnight, 24 degrees Celsius is what it drops to, expected to be mostly cloudy at 0% humidity level as well in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja today.
All right, I'll still be in the south, and that is the southeast. Let me take this from Enugu before Yemi travels to Kano this morning. Weather in Enugu currently feels like 24 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning it will rise to 31 degrees Celsius while being partly cloudy. It will also do a further rise to 37 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy at 0% in the afternoon, while it will be clear in the evening at 29 degrees Celsius, 1%, and overnight, mostly cloudy at 25 degrees Celsius, 7% right there in Enugu, Enugu State this morning.
Okay, let's cross over to Kano Municipal. Weather this morning feels like 17 degrees Celsius and later is expected to rise to 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the afternoon, we have 31 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And in the evening, it drops to 23 degrees Celsius. That's quite massive and mostly clear around 0%. And overnight, we have 18 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And that's what we have for Kano Municipal.
The weather stays the same in Maiduguri, Borno State today at 17 degrees Celsius across board. And then later in the morning, it rises to 28 degrees Celsius, expected to be sunny today at 0% relative humidity today. And of course, afternoon, it rises to 34 degrees Celsius. The weather remains sunny. And evening, it drops by 10 degrees Celsius, just a very sharp drop to 24 degrees Celsius in the evening, expected to be mostly clear across the state. And overnight, 19 degrees Celsius. Expected to be clear is what the weather looks like in Borno, Maiduguri today.
All right, I think that will be all. We'll be taking a weather report this morning. Do also link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. Do well to link up with us on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, drop your comment there. We'll take them on this show. And don't forget to subscribe and like those pages and then share extensively. All right, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll take the news. We'll be back.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
morning. This is the Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakun. The federal government has said that it is strengthening security cooperation with the United States to protect lives, safeguard religious freedom, and restore peace across the country. This follows a plenary session of the Nigeria-U.S. Joint Working Group on Nigeria's designation as a country of particular concern, held in Abuja. Briefing newsmen, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, said the meeting marked the third high-level engagement with U.S. officials since November 2025, describing the partnership as active and focused on delivering results. In a statement by his media aide, Rabiu Ibrahim, the minister disclosed that the government is improving early warning systems and developing a national database to generate accurate data on deaths and casualties linked to violence. Moving on, the federal government has confirmed the payment of 152 billion naira to contractors for verified contracts. This announcement came from the Federal Ministry of Finance and was shared on the verified X account of Minister of State for Finance Doris Uzoka Anite. The ministry acknowledged that delays in payments may have caused financial pressures for contractors and emphasized its commitment to ongoing dialogue to resolve any outstanding issues. The ministry reassured all contractors that payment requests will continue to be processed promptly, fairly, and in line with due process. The Oyo State government, through the Oyo State Rule of Law Enforcement Authority, earlier has taken decisive action over the alleged willful damage to state-owned road infrastructure in parts of Ibadan. The enforcement exercise led by the chairperson of Oilia, Honorable Justice Aderonke Aderemi, led to the arrest of Faridi Lawal Akonji Kazim, Abidemi Isiak, and 10 others. The suspects were arraigned before the Chief Magistrate Court sitting at Wuro, Ibadan on charges of conspiracy and willful damage to public property. According to the charge sheet, the defendants allegedly conspired to damage road curbs constructed by the state government in the Odejai area along Old Ife Road and Nigbagi area of Ibadan. They pleaded not guilty and were granted bail on the stringent conditions, and the case was adjourned to February 13, 2026 for further mention. In the same vein, detectives of the Oyo State Police Command have arrested 2 suspects in connection with the death of 20-year-old laborer Abdurrahim Koni in Budo, Mosalasi village, Shaki. The suspect, Latif Giwa and Adediron Kazim, reportedly confessed to their involvement following credible intelligence that led to the arrest. Preliminary investigations revealed that Giwa, the victim's employer, had a dispute with Koni at work, which allegedly escalated into physical assault. The victim sustained serious injuries and, despite receiving medical treatment, later died, prompting a full-scale police investigation. The Commissioner of Police, Oyo State Command, CP Femi Aruno, has directed that the case be transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department, SCID, for a thorough and discreet inquiry. The command urged the public to provide credible information to support ongoing efforts to combat violent crime in the state. The African Action Congress, AAC, has called on residents of Oyo State to join the party ahead of the 2027 general elections, describing membership as a vital step toward building an alternative political leadership that prioritizes the interests of the masses. In a press statement signed by the Oyo State Chairman, Kayode Babayomi, the party said it is opening its doors to concerned citizens, activists, and progressive groups across the state. The party also urged its members to begin early preparations for the 2027 elections by positioning themselves to contest various elective offices and offering themselves for public service. Away from Oyo State, the Chief Judge of Rivers State Justice Simeon Amadi has declined a request by the Rivers State House of Assembly to constitute a judicial panel to investigate Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Ngozi Odu, over allegations of gross misconduct. In a letter addressed to the Speaker of the House, Martins Amoyle, Justice Amadi said his decision was based on existing court orders restraining him from receiving, forwarding, or acting on any request to set up such a panel. The Chief Judge stressed that constitutionalism and the rule of law require all authorities to comply with subsisting court orders regardless of personal views about their validity. He noted that his actions were strictly guided by legal obligations. Justice Amadi appealed to the lawmakers to understand the legal limitations surrounding the matter and urged the Assembly to be magnanimous enough to appreciate the legal position. And in business this morning, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has announced that Nigeria will start exporting urea by 2028 as part of effort to establish the country as the hub for value-added oil and gas products. The authority also revealed plans to launch large-scale fertilizer export in the near future. The announcement was made by NMDPRA Chief Executive Saidu Mohammed during a visit to Indorama Eleme Fertilizer and Chemicals Limited in Rivers State. Mohammed emphasized that Nigeria is focusing on value addition in the midstream sector, which he described as critical and in need of significant investment. He added that with ongoing private sector investment, Nigeria has no reason to continue importing products like urea and fertilizers. And in sport this morning, Nigeria's Akon Adams has been recognized for his brilliant strike against Algeria, which was named among the top 5 goals of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations by the Confederation of African Football, CAF. The announcement was made on CAF's official X account. The 25-year-old scored during Nigeria's 2-0 quarter-final win over Algeria, calmly dribbling past goalkeeper Lucas Zidane after a pass from Victor Osimhen and slotting the ball into an empty net. This was Ako's second goal of the tournament, following an impressive strike against Mozambique in the round of 16. Other goals included in CAF's top 5 were scored by Ayoub El Kabi of Morocco, Christian Kofane of Cameroon, Adil Binan of Algeria, and Pep Gueye of Senegal, showcasing some of the most spectacular attacking moments of the competition. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. That's Daybreak News. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako saying thank you for watching and good morning.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel.
All right, our stories shape policies and help in making informed decisions. And it's on that note I welcome you back on this show. And this is that segment where we bring you headlines from the newspapers and analysis this morning. Samson Balogun is my name, and today I'm housed with several newspapers, and that is Friday Leadership, New Telegraph, This Day Live, Nigerian Tribune, The Punch, The Guardian, Daily Trust, and Daily Independent. I'll be starting with the New Telegraph this morning, and the major headline on the New Telegraph says U.S. forces annihilating terrorists in Nigeria. That's coming from Donald Trump, and the writer on this story says asks Nigeria to intensify protection of Christian communities. Bandits abduct 100-year-old chief family member in Kogi. Rescue Kaduna worshippers. Apprehend kidnappers. Abbas tells military as ADC demands probe into initial abduction denial. Egypt backs NUTF to tackle Boko Haram in Lake Chad. That is on the New Telegraph this morning. Of course, the U.S. has been an instrumental partner to the Nigerian government when it comes to security in recent times, and that has been yielding results in all segments. But definitely, there has been calls about Christian annihilation of Christians in Nigeria, and definitely, I do hope that this is sorted as soon as possible. But then, there has been denial about the captivity of several Nigerian Christians in Kaduna recently by the Nigerian police, and people are asking questions, especially the opposition in Nigeria, the ADC, about why this is happening at this time and why in the first place the police had to deny that and eventually admit that investigation is ongoing as regards who were kidnapped. And as of yesterday, names of the kidnapped victims were still being accounted for. You'll find this particular story on page 3, page 5, page 6, page 29, and page 30 of the New Telegraph. Also on the New Telegraph this morning, there are several other stories as Tinubu approves targeted incentives for jobs, FX inflows for Shell's Bonga project, and others. That story is on the New Telegraph this morning. Also coming back to your state on this particular one this morning on the New Telegraph, Makinde meets Tinubu, says, I'm comfortable in PDP. You'll find that story on page 2 of the New Telegraph. Recently, there has been a lot of back and forth as regards what Makinde said in a media chat he had in Ibadan, and of course, the counter media chat had by Nyesom Wike in Rivers State as regards who is in the PDP, who is in the APC, what was the agreement, what they discussed behind closed doors with the president. But yesterday, once again, he had a closed door meeting with the president, and there was a video clip of him just after the meeting, and said, look, when it comes to the issue of national security, sometimes you don't have to leave that to the president alone, and everyone has to be on board. Some people timed that until this very headline. They timed that as an opportunity for Governor Seyi Makinde, or maybe an indication that Governor Seyi Makinde might likely be aligning with the president. But as this goes now, it means that the governor is still in the PDP, and definitely it is just about national security and national issues alone. All right, also on page 4 of the New Telegraph, there's this story: protesting contractors. Finance ministry clears 152 billion naira verified contract debt. It has been all, in some situations, the Nigerian government have had to clear some debts, sometimes to clear off backlogs of debt, even from the last administration to this very one. But definitely, I think that's a very good news right there. And the story is credited to Wale Edun, the coordinating minister of the economy right there. Also on the upper part of the New Telegraph this morning, Kudirat Abiola's mother, Supreme Court dismisses Major Al-Mustafa's trial. That's on page 2 of the New Telegraph. There has been calls that there should be a retrial of Al-Mustafa, Major Al-Mustafa, on the death of Kudirat Abiola, but the Supreme Court has cleared him of that particular one and, of course, has dismissed the notion that he should be retried on that one. Also, on the lower third of the New Telegraph this morning, CJ declines Rivers Assembly request to probe Fubara deputy. Right, there is this immunity for the governor, and as regards the impeachment process against the governor that is currently going on, there were a lot of back and forth. Some of them initially withdrew and said, look, we are not part of this process anymore. About 4 of the lawmakers in Rivers State withdrew from that, but then it's still ongoing. And some people have actually accused the president of inability to protect Rivers State governor, even after he has moved to the APC. But then let's see what this will bring, and of course there will also be development on this particular story, maybe before the day runs out or even tomorrow. Moving away from the New Telegraph this morning, we go straight to Friday leadership. And on the headlines, of course, the major headline on Friday leadership: abductees location identified. ACF says amnesty for bandits won't work. Some Nigerians have said, look, you cannot continue to pardon bandits and say they won't come back to do the same thing over and over again. And recently, one of the clergymen in Nigeria has also come out to say, look, you have to send them to hell. Even if they want to reconcile with God, it should be done on their own personal accord. Nigerians should not pity whoever has attempted or has kidnapped anyone anywhere. Discussion is ongoing for victims' release, religious leader. I mean, people have also asked questions about how victims are being released. Are they being paid? Are ransoms being paid by the government or families of these individuals that were kidnapped? But it is still quite unclear whether that is being done. But regardless of the situation, Nigerians who have been kidnapped in some cases in one place or the other, some of them have actually regained their freedom. And I do hope those who were kidnapped in Kaduna will also taste freedom as soon as possible. All right, let's talk about politics on page 7 of the Friday leadership this morning. E-registration, we have reserved 001 slot for Governor Yusuf, says Kano APC. Recently, there has been a lot of issues in Kano State about where the governor moves to and his followers, especially those in his cabinet. But a lot of back and forth between the governor, his godfather, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, who is still in the NNPP and has made it clear that there has to be a cogent reason for him to leave the NNPP and join another political party. But then, as it stands now, the governor, Abba Yusuf, had a closed-door meeting recently with the president to finalize his landing in the APC. And of course, the Kano State APC are coming out to say, look, as the leader of the party, immediately you join, don't forget the constitution of the APC says, as a sitting governor, the moment you join a political party, you automatically become the 001, the leader of that party in that state. And I do hope that is what is happening in Kano State right now, as this 001 slot has been reserved for Governor Abba Yusuf, just in case he decides to finally move to the APC. Don't forget, his cronies, his friends, especially Governor Muftuang of Plateau State, has also jumped the ship. All right, moving on. 35 million Nigerians risk hunger, UN warns. These are one of the checks and balances that comes with statistics and information out there to say these are ways for Nigeria to tackle hunger, tackle insecurity and some other things. And definitely UN is warning again that if care is not taken, 35 million Nigerians risk hunger. And this begs the question of, as it stands, about over 250 million Nigerians, how many Nigerians are currently living below poverty level? And if that is calculated, are they more than 35 million? Are we already in this space where the UN is talking about, or Nigeria is just drifting towards that path? It is left to be seen, and I hope the NBS will come out with counter statistics to discuss whether this is where Nigeria is or this is what Nigeria is actually risking at this time. Of course, talking about corruption this morning, and EFCC uncovers over 18.7 billion naira investment scam. Of course, there has been a lot of investment scams in the history of Nigeria, and people have had their fair share of losses in that regard. And before this becomes a major problem for Nigerians, I hope the EFCC nips this in the bud and apprehend the perpetrators and the culprits who are actually on this one. Also, federal government disburses 152 billion naira to contractors. That's still on Friday leadership this morning. It's an headline on page 20. Federal government disburses 152 billion naira to contractors, same as the story we had on the New Telegraph in the first place. Moving on to this day this morning, and on the upper third of this day live, Tinubu unveils incentives to unlock jobs, foreign exchange inflows from Shell's Bonga Southwest and others. That's a story you will find on this day live this morning. Also, Rivers CJ, my hand is fettered, stops impeachment process against Fubara Odu. That story is on the major story on this day live this morning. Says is restrained by interim orders of state high court and appeal process by the legislators. That story is on this day live. Also on this day live on the lower third, Tinubu approves posting of 3 out of 68 ambassadors designates. Some have asked questions about why the process is slow and why Nigeria has had to wait for over 3 years to have ambassadors in some countries, especially notable countries like the US, Russia, China, Japan, including South Korea, North Korea. These are major countries with strong ties with Nigeria, even the Great Britain. But then, definitely, I hope the president is also working on some other countries aside from these three, and the job of the Minister of Foreign Affairs will be reduced a little bit, so you have a lot of other things to do and thinking on some other bilateral agreement that will suit Nigeria and Nigerians at large. Also on this day live this morning, under Secretary, U.S. Under Secretary, Nigeria government must do more to protect Christians. That is the story you will find on this day live this morning. Moving away from this day, we'll take this particular one from the Nigerian Tribune, and it's a major headline: Kaduna abduction. U.S. wants Nigeria to strengthen protection of Christians. Recently, there was a particular story about how many millions of dollars Nigeria had to pay to lobbyists to preach the gospel of Christian protection in Nigeria, that Christians are not being annihilated, but then it is still there. And recently, a number of Nigerian Christians were kidnapped in Kaduna State, and the U.S. is coming out to say, we are towing the path of peace at this time. These are the things you have to do to make sure that Nigerian Christians are well protected. The story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Southern Kaduna Christian leaders declare 2-day fasting over safe return of abducted worshippers. Southern Middle Belt Leaders Forum wants suspension through investigation of police officials who denied abduction in the first place. Some have had to ask these questions in recent times about why Nigeria would resort to prayers when there are things that can visibly be done and there are steps that can visibly be taken to make sure that the issue of insecurity in Nigeria is put to rest. And definitely, so many times we have had situations where monies are being earmarked for prayers when they can be earmarked for equipment, gadgets for the Nigerian military. We'll get there, and of course we do hope Nigeria will get there someday. Also on the Nigerian Tribune this morning, UN says 35 million Nigerians risk hunger after global funding collapse. It's on page 31, same as the story we have had on several other papers. It is on all major newspapers this morning. I'm comfortable in PDP. Makinde met with Tinubu at VIA, that's coming from Oyo State. Ambassadors, Tinubu posts Are to USA, okay, to France, and that King Gary to Turkey. That's on page 27. Dalatu is High Commissioner Designate to the United Kingdom. You'll find that story on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Also, about Rivers State, Fubara. Chief Judge rejects request to constitute impeachment panel. You'll find that story on Nigerian Tribune. It's on all major newspapers this morning. All right, let's move straight away from Nigerian Tribune this morning and touched down on the Punch newspaper. And the major headline here says, U.S. demands action. FG vows to track bandits. All right. Some have said, oh, we have had enough of talks. We want more of actions. The president is doing so much. And of course, his member of the cabinet are also sweating to make sure that Nigeria becomes a safer place as it stands. Ribadu meets U.S. envoy as Washington pressures Abuja on insecurity. Mother recounts giving birth in Kaduna kidnappers hideouts. These are gory sights. These are things that average Nigerians and, of course, so many other people should know their experience, and do hope that when security returns finally to Nigeria, Nigerians will be able to sleep with their two eyes closed. Makinde rules out defection plans after meeting Tinubu. That story is on page 27 of the Punch newspaper this morning. All right, Supreme Court closes Kudrat Abiola's murder case, frees Al-Mustafa, and there's another angle to this on the Punch newspaper, but definitely you'll find that story on page 28 if you want to read more on the Punch newspaper this morning. Attack scare. Police deploy officers to top Lagos schools. You'll find that on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And it's becoming obvious that Nigerian schools really need security at this time, as we have had several cases, especially in the north, where schools have been attacked, children have been kidnapped, especially in Chibok and some other places, even in Niger. And as soon as this is done, Nigerians will be able to be rest assured that their children are in school and definitely they are safe. Away from there, this morning, we'll move straight to the Guardian newspaper. And on the Guardian newspaper this morning, the major headline, how poor services, high cost, easy drug access, fuel addiction crisis. Some have said Nigerians have too much access to drugs. They can easily walk into any pharmacy, get the drugs of their choice without recommendation or prescription by a medical personnel, and that has increased addiction crisis in Nigeria. Also, on the Guardian newspaper, FG warns against consumer extortion, orders free installation of 500,000 meters. Nigerians are also asking questions about why they have had to pay so much for meters when governments keep putting information out there that meters are free, meters are always available, but then people have had to queue and have had to wait to get meters installed in their several homes. Also, on this one this morning, on the Guardian newspaper, there is this headline about court proscribes industrial action as Wike sues FCTA workers. You'll find that story on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. All right, so let me pick this one very quickly on Daily Trust and Daily Independent before we sign out on this segment of the show this morning. Leaders' verdict on Fourth Republic. You'll find that story on Daily Trust. Also, Tinubu post ambassadors to US, France, 2 others. That story is also on Daily Trust newspaper this morning. 7 persons killed in Fresh Plateau attack. That story is on the lower third of of Daily Trust this morning, and definitely we'll find that story on page 36 of Daily Trust. And lastly, let me take this one on Daily Independent. US asks Nigeria to firm up protection of Christians. That story is on Daily Independent. And poultry sector fit to drive Nigeria's industrial value chain. That's coming from stakeholders this morning. I think that's where we end it on newspaper headlines and analysis this morning. So thank you for linking up with us. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, you'll be on the big story with Anuluako Idowu.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Welcome to The Big Story. Today, we're asking a big question with real-life consequences. Academic excellence versus all-round development. How do we strike the right balance in modern education? In developed nations of the world like Finland, Canada, Mexico, and sometimes Sweden and the United Kingdom, education goes beyond grades. Students are encouraged to explore sports, leadership, creativity, and critical thinking alongside academics. But in Nigeria, success is still largely measured by certificates, CGPAs, and test scores. So are we preparing students for life or just for tests? Nigeria prides itself on academic excellence, but many graduates struggle with leadership, communication, and adaptability. In contrast, developed nations of this world deliberately build these skills through clubs, student media, sports, and volunteerism. To unpack this morning, I'm joined by Chief Olashile Ogunrinu, the 37th president of the Union of Campus Journalists, University of Ibadan, and the XY National Chief of the Kegaite Club, National Headquarters, University of Ibadan. Welcome to the show, Chief O.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, so let's get started. When I think you've done, because I have seen from our recent conversation that you wear many caps. And well, I'm a bit surprised you didn't come in a regalia today. We could have made some more vibes to that. But let's have the conversation of saying you're a recent graduate from the University of Ibadan.
Yes.
Something to be happy about, the prestigious Premier University.
Definitely.
So but let's talk about this. When you first arrived on campus, what kind of education did you meet?
All right. Thanks so much for having me on the show again. Coming to UI then. Yes, we got admitted into the university in 2021, but we couldn't resume until 2022 due to some lacks in the academic calendar. So when we came on board then, education in UI, like most people know, is UI. So it's always book. In fact, it is tagged that the University of Ibadan doesn't have a social life, and that the biggest social event in UI is still an academic event because we have JOWO, and that's like a debating competition, and that's the biggest social event in UI. So how it is then was like everyone just come to back the degree and just focus on the academics and a lot. But I think I've always known that I want to get develop around, yeah, so to say, because personally, I don't think I'm just someone that wants to sit in a single role and focus on. I want to explore as much as I can. So that's what prompted me, because as a Pan-Africanist who believe that the African cultures must be promoted, I venture into the Kegaite Club, the University of Ibadan National Headquarters, and also because I'm a passionate lover of writing, journalism, I also joined the Union of Campus Journalists, University of Ibadan then. So
we'll get into those conversations in a minute, but first let's take us back to school. You know, some persons did not get the opportunity to attend University of Ibadan, for example. We've seen people who attended some other schools, polytechnics, colleges of education, you know, but you have been in the know because you, of course, are a student and you just finished from university. You've seen how it is. Do you think the academic structure allows for you to do many things, to start with?
Yeah, I mean, generally looking at it, the Nigeria academic system there is still a lot of improvement that needs to be made, because the whole curriculum is still structured in the way that you can hardly do some other things except the academics.
But you did other things. That's
yes,
exactly why we have here.
And it comes at great sacrifice and a lot of extraordinary going beyond the normal. Because why most students would have been comfortable staying in the loop and just do their academics only, I think the system does not really permit, because especially now we're having the shortest academic calendar in the history of the University of Ibadan, like really fast to make up for the years lost to strike and all those. So it's really fast nowadays. So if you are just like the just concluded session in the University of Ibadan, a lot of student organizations have issue planning their election, their dinner, because they couldn't make how to navigate the academic calendar. So it's really still kind of challenging trying to venture into other things that are not really academic, but then it is not impossible. I mean, you can still do things, you can still explore into things that you think will enrich your knowledge, even as a student of the University of Ibadan, because despite how challenging it is, we have a couple of students who are really doing well in other activities that are not even their academics. So I wouldn't say that it's impossible, but then the current structure of the academic does not really permit an inclusion of activities that are not academics.
Let me put you right on the spot again, and no apologies for that, because we understand how competent you are for this kind of conversations. You are the president of the UCJ. UCJ is very important in the University of Ibadan. I mean, if you attended the University of Ibadan, you understand how important it is. You are also the chief, the leader of the Kegaite Club, the national headquarters, that's the University of Ibadan. Those are like two different caps. They are like contrasting caps. Some would say they are mutually exclusive, because for a lot of persons, you can't do the two. You can't eat your cake and have it. You can be someone who is a journalist writing and doing academic stuff and still do social activities that you need to travel. Tell us about that. You've been to many states, many universities. Name the university. Maybe just tell us the figure so we can understand where you're coming from.
Okay, I mean, about the schools I've been to for the Kegaite, I've been to places like Federal University of Technology, Mina, in Niger State, like the Federal Polytechnic, Bida, that's also in Niger State, University of Ilorin, Kwara State Polytechnic, Federal University of Abeokuta,
In total, how many?
I mean, as a KGI chief, I've been to at least more than 50 schools.
More than 50 universities or campuses?
Campuses, because we have polytechnics that are also Ilias. We call branches of the KGI Club Ilias in their school. So I've been to all these places.
Have you been to Iliadu Timber?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so I'm saying that because it's personal to me. But let's get on. Okay. So how did you manage that movement with school and then with UCJ?
Yeah, because even in the UCJ, the Union of Campus Journalists is like the #1 hotspot for breeding the next gen campus journalists in the mainstream, because a lot of the product of the UCJ are basically the one holding forth in the media industry, from the likes of Fisayo Shiyombo, who is our 28th president. I am the 37th. So we have a lot of people like that, the likes of Laolo Akonde and many other people. So how we run the UCJ is, also as the president, I made a lot of trips to our alumni, to our corporate partners and all this. So I'm making all these trips while also making the trips of the Kenyans. Also, as the UCJ president, we have ACJOAU, the Association of Campus Journalists. I've been there. I've been to many other campuses where to participate in discussions, conversation on campus journalism in all the schools. So, I mean, it's a lot of trips, it's a lot of travelings, but then I think it's because I've set my heart to it that I want to do this. I mean, that's because I don't like venturing into an endeavor and eventually trying to fail or shaking out. I don't. But at some point, it can get really conflicting. I actually will resigning at some point. Yes. I wanted to resign from the UCJ at some point. This is really shocking me. But a couple people spoke to me on the reason why I think I need to do this.
Okay. So, I mean, someone is waiting to ask you a question. I will help the person now. The person is asking, did you finish well from the University of Ibadan?
Definitely. And like I said, we are still...
Definitely means 2-2?
No. No.
What, I mean, just explain details.
The thing is, the Senate is here to sit on our results, but if coupled with, I'm doing one of the groundbreaking and a novel research for my long XA. I'm actually working on climate change and journalism, which is basically really new.
It's a novel area.
In the Nigerian mainstream media. So I'm doing an important work there. So I hope if my sacrifice and dedication to that is well merited, I think I can be back on first class. So yes,
that's incredible. Someone is saying you can say that again.
Yes.
Because for you to man up, you wear many caps, different caps, contrasting. Some would say, and then you still finish with, or you are aiming to finish with your first class. Yeah, that's quite something to talk about, really. But let's talk about your parents. When you told them, maybe mommy, when you told mommy, I'm a chief or I'm doing care guides. Well, because a lot of people believe social clubs are just for, tantrums to play or to create nuisance and community. Yes. Some would not even associate with anybody that comes from there to say, yeah, member of the care guides club. So what? I'm not talking to you because I feel like you are going to be a bad person because you drink. Yeah. So that's more like, everybody knows it's all about palm wine, it's all about alcohol and all that. So because they drink palm wine, they just dance around, they don't really focus on school. But you've done so well for yourself now, for example. And you're going to be one of the few examples we have to spotlight with extracurricular activities, especially in the Nigerian education sector. Now, your parents, you spoke to your mom, and what was her reaction?
Yeah, so yes, my mom is actually a single mother. She's been responsible for my education. So yeah, when I told her I want to join the Kega's Club, like most African parents, they started coming with all these reasons. What is that? Why do you even want to do that? But one thing is, I'm always glad about that. She knows me well, so I can say that. And she knows I wouldn't venture into something that is not adding to my life, that is irrational or something, because I always think it through. I always try to be rational as I can be in making my decisions. So she came with the normal misconception, okay, Kega is club occultist, and I patiently sat her down to re-educate her on this misconception. The Kegite Club cannot be a cult group because this is the University of Ibadan, and the University of Ibadan has very strict policy against cultism, to the extent that you can't even exchange punches while on the campus. Anyone that tried that is going, no matter how angry you are in the University of Ibadan. So the University of Ibadan has a very strict policy against cultism, and the Kegite Club in the University of Ibadan is like one of the most recognized social club on campus, because aside from the student union, no other student organization has a permanent structure in the University of Ibadan. Whenever, be it fellowship, be it all this, whenever they have an event, they have to go and rent maybe a hall of residence, common room, a library, so they have to rent somewhere. But the Kegite Club University has a very large piece of land.
Very close to the entrance of
Zik right there at Zik entrance. So the Kegite Shrine is permanently located there. If you look at the official map of the University of Ibadan, Kegite Shrine is well identified there. So the club is well recognized in the University of Ibadan. And UI will never tolerate a cultist group. So she came, they are always academics, subpar, they are not intellectual. I told her that is not true. Many, in fact, as the chief in the University of Ibadan, when you want to see me at night, I'm always at the senior staff club. And in the University of Ibadan,
senior staff club.
Yes.
How did you gain entrance into that?
That's what I'm saying, because a lot of these scholars in the university, they are Kegite.
So they allow you in?
I am their chief. They have to allow me in here.
Even the professors? You are the chief for professors?
Oh my God, you need to see my interaction with these people. I am the chief. Okay, just a few days ago, I was at the staff club and I was greeting them. And they were reminding me, about 3 of them at the same time, that you are the chief. It is not that you have been rude, but when we greet you, you cannot bow.
That you should not bow for professors?
For them, because
in the
as
University of Ibadan?
Yes, because as the chief, you cannot bow for anyone. They have to bow to you. That's the culture of the club.
Okay.
So
let's not do so much PR
yes,
but let's get into.
But what I'm saying is, talking about this guy, they are not sound. A lot of all these professors, like, really sound one. In fact, the Kegai Chief Alajelono in 2017, yes, academic session, he was the best graduating student from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. He was a Kegai Chief, and one of the Kegai Chiefs, past Kegai Chief, I'm really closely. So, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan is a Kegaite, Professor Lakwiga. So we have a lot of people who are really sound. But at the moment, I can count more than 10 head of departments in the. So talking about not being these people, and about you want to join because it's an avenue to just get drunk and drink. I can count more than 10 chiefs who have been chiefs before me that don't take palm wine. They don't take palm wine, talk less of taking alcohol. So we have a lot of people like that who doesn't even take all these things. And maybe it's an avenue to just be religious, to not be. No, that's not true. We have people who are strictly afas, who are Kegite. We have people who are pastors, who are. So I just try to patiently lecture her and educate her on this thing. And so far, since I've joined since then and now, she knows I've not picked any vices, I've not, so
right.
So we are really good.
Okay, so you quite mentioned something, but let me put you on the spot very quickly, briefly. You mentioned that it's not an avenue to join a cultist club.
Yes, definitely.
Are there cultists in Kegai's club?
No.
I mean, you might need to maybe Lady Sima before you answer.
Okay.
Are there cultists in Kegite?
No.
Okay, is there a chance for anybody to be a Kegite and still be a cultist?
That, in fact, the policy is that we have a system of expulsion of members, and we call it dekegation. So if someone is suspected to be a cultist, it will be dekegged. The case will be taken to the school management.
Disciplinary committee?
Yes, to investigate, and if proven, the club will be willing to go at any length to pursue it with the courts.
Now, okay, so get me into this. When you were about becoming the president of the Kegaite Club,
Chief.
what was the requirement? Was there anything like your academic performance?
Definitely, because the process of transitioning the Kegaite Club, we don't do elections in the Kegaite Club. So what we have is an elder sitting. So the elders who are going to be sitting are the graduating students. They will sit and pick from the penultimate student who the next chief is going to be. So and weeks before the sitting, all the penultimate students are going to be made to submit their transcripts, their academic transcript. So they have to, academic strength is one of the most important requirements.
So what I'm trying to put together is that it is almost as good as saying if you want to join extracurricular clubs and activities, you must be sound. And the two does not have to be against each other. It doesn't have to be that you are sound academically, but you are poor socially. And it doesn't have to be you are antisocial, but you are good academically. Yeah. But let me get into this. You know, in Nigeria, generally, academic success seems to be the order of the day, seems to be our priority. And it's often reduced to grades and CGPAs, you know, and sometimes certificates. And as someone who has just finished from the University of Ibadan, do you believe academic excellence alone truly prepares graduates for life after university?
Yeah, you are right. The notion in the larger society in Nigeria is that it's only about CGPA and grades, but actually that's not the case. Both are supposed to be complementing. Yeah, you cannot afford to be focused on one, because I've witnessed when people say there is no job in Nigeria, you can graduate with first class and still get none. But I don't know. I'm always of the opposite notion, because I believe there is no how you can be sound academically and also extracurricular wise, and you find it hard to do something after school. Because I've witnessed a lot of people who are really big on academics and still do very well in extracurricular activity, and I think it has helped them a lot. So because you can't afford to, it's a big problem, because we've seen a lot of people who are always on first class, but their communication skill, interpersonal skill and all that is really poor. But you can't thrive, based on just one. You can't thrive based on just one. You have to complement it. Yes, because participating in extracurricular activity is going to give you all the real life application of whatever you are studying. The Kegaite Club, the University of Ibadan, under my leadership for this session, has about I think 50 something members. The Union of Campus Journalists has about 1,000 members. So you getting to lead, interact with these diverse people from different background, different experience, is going to put you under all kind of pressure that you may think, and you having to surmount it, you having to achieve, execute all the thing you want to, is definitely going to prepare you. Especially multitasking, just like I.
Okay. Sorry, before you get in, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this. Right. When you mentioned multitasking, that was the next question I was going to put to you. Many students have complained in the past that it's so difficult for them to face academics and face something else. Some would even go as far as saying, I cannot have a boyfriend while in school. Others will have advised people not to have boyfriends in schools because they feel they will be distracted. You know, that place of distraction. But tell me, you seem to be doing well academically and you're also socially sound. How did you manage it? Are you nocturnal in the sense that you read mostly at night? Because I remember when I was, there's a popular saying in the University of Ibadan that whether or not you want to pass, you must read. So you read to pass, you read to fail. Yeah. Anybody that fails in you must have read. So it's all about reading, you must have read. So when do you read?
Yes, in that sense, I'm very nocturnal, like really. because my days are always like really filled with activities. Always filled with. But I did something when I went to Footmina in Niger State. So I went on Friday. The event was Saturday overnight. Then we ended around 7 a.m. in the morning. And the moment I go back inside the bus coming back, and it's Sunday, and I have an 8 a.m. exam in the University of Ibadan on Monday. So, well, I slept through most of the journey, and the moment I got back to UI, very tired and all, I had to bring my laptop out, go to the department. I use my department library for reading mostly at night. So I went there, I read till like 5 a.m. and I went to the exam. So what I'm saying is I'm always nocturnal because my days are always filled with a lot of activities.
So time management is key for you.
I think that's the singular thing that works for me, because before you might think you have time, before you know it, something would have crept into your time and eaten away most of your time. So I'm always big on time management. I think that's the most important factor that really worked for me, because it really does.
Chief, let's take it one step further.
Okay.
When I finished from the university too, one of my friends called me and said, Anu, would you like to apply for a scholarship? I said, what's that? I said, it's a scholarship for international global professionals. I don't want to mention the name specifically. So I said, okay, so what's up? So what's required? And the guy told me, what they require of you is 3,000 hours of work experience and 3,000 hours of leadership experience. The first thing I said was, Nibo Nikinteri. I mean, in Yoruba, it means like, where do I find this? Where do I get this? Many questions. I mean, I've seen a lot of people ask, when they get these questions, they say, how do you expect me to do that? Because the school does not even allow for you to have that much of time for yourself. There's not so much about extracurricular activities that is being talked about in the campus, except you are intentional. A few persons are intentional. Some are into school, student politics. Others are into some other stuff that are extracurricular in nature. But a good number are just focused on academics, focused on doing what they have to do and all that. And eventually it tells, like we say, communication skills, sometimes zero, interpersonal skills, sometimes is lacking and all of that. So my question to you now is that, we have that in developed climes where for you to even, they're not asking if you have leadership experience or work experience, they're asking how many hours do you have. So so imagine 3,000 hours of work experience would take you sometimes more than a year, 2 years to have, depending on how many hours you are putting every day. So it tells the story that for every time, one has to be intentional about joining one club or the other. So in countries like United Kingdom, US, Canada, students are encouraged to be creative, to have ideas, to innovate, and and even fail. They want you to fail as part of learning, to fail forward, not to fail backward. When you try many things and then you fail, they want you to still do something else and continue. So from your perspective, why do you think Nigeria has struggled to fully embrace the kind of holistic education model that applies to academics and also extracurricular activities?
Well, I mean, that's still going to boil down to the challenge facing the education system, because it is not an isolated case. Because for us to have a robust education system that encompasses both learning outside classroom and the actual learning, it's going to draw us back to the clamor for the revitalization of the education system, because the current curriculum, the current structure of the education system is still kind of archaic. So we still need to elevate the current status quo, because from the curriculum, just look at it, we don't have the courses that reflect the emerging trends. Because while you go abroad, you have something like AI as a course, so we don't have something like that. So it's until we are able to kind of revitalize the education system that we are going to have the time to to restructure our education system in a way that we don't only expect academics and grades from students, we expect their real life application.
So they can solve real life problems.
Yeah, so I think it's until we do that, because it's still kind of interrelated. It is not an isolation from the overall problem facing the education system.
All right. So let me get your thought on this. I know you've been in the thick of journalism as a student. So through journalism and student leadership, tell us, what practical skills have you learned that you think you have gained, talking, communication, critical thinking, confidence, that formal lectures never taught you? Formal classroom lectures.
I mean, as a student journalist, I've been able to, for two times in a row now, I've always get an unpaid flight expenses to Abuja to participate in what is regarded as Africa's biggest journalism conference, which is the Media and Development Conference by the CJID. So I've always been part of it. I was part of the conference in 2024. I was part of it last year. So, and as a student journalist, I've been able to write for many mainstream platforms, say the Tribune, Premium Times, several media houses. I was part of the Udeme cohort of the CGI, and what it does is investigative journalism. How I was trained to monitor procurement, investigate projects being done by government. There is no way I can get to learn this in the classroom. So it took getting hands-on experience, participating in all this to be able to do all this. So yeah, it's not something that can be taught in the classroom. It's as a result of my, it's as a result of my quest for
Chief, get me into this. Let's do an hypothetical situation.
Okay.
Imagine me as the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Lausa, and I'm sat this morning with you. Tell me, what single policy or reform or agenda would you push to me that could immediately improve both academic standards and extracurricular student development?
Well, I mean, that would be reviewing the curriculum. Yes, we need a total overhaul of the university, the tertiary institution curriculum.
What do you want it to look like?
Yes, it should integrate more practical courses on, something like soft skills. Because, like I said, many students are still big on grades and CGPA, and are so absorbed in it that they can't relate with people. So, I mean, having these soft skills as probably a GS course, in this going to be practical event, you don't need to take much lecture on that. Maybe the practical assessment is what they are going to be using for those courses. I mean, having something like that is definitely going to increase extracurricular participation among students.
Let's do a bit of politics. You've been able to move with people who have gained or garnered experience over time. Like you said, you talked to professors, senior staff of the University of Ibadan, and that's like a leverage that we can also depend on. So let's depend on that leverage quickly. Do you think Nigeria's political leaders understand modern education as they should? And is there anything they should do to apply ideas to really change in this rapidly changing world?
Well, I think in terms of the knowledge of Nigerian political leaders about education, I think the question cannot be black and white, because while we've seen leaders who really knows and follow the essence of education, there are still some that are not seen. But overall, both the ones that knows and the one that doesn't know, they both are not doing much as they should towards the education system, because education as an aspect is not being really paid attention to by the government, because that's why we still have something near shambolic system of education, because because for example, the funding that should go to education is not really going. So that's another factor that affects how education is being taught, how even the student themselves perceive education. So I think the Nigerian political leader needs to do better to education in order to increase the knowledge students have about education, so it will propel them to take education more than just classroom and theories and get into the real life to get skills and all.
So let me round up on this topic. Something quite very powerful that we should talk about. Do you believe Nigeria as a country or the education system in the country still have a way of competing globally, or are we fast running out of time? What do you think in just a few words?
Well, the students, the Nigeria education system has a lot to do. Nigerian students can compete, yes. A few Nigerian students, not a large percentage actually, but many Nigerian students are competing. In fact, most of our Nigerian products, when they get out there, they are always competing with students who had access to the global standard of education. So what we need, I think, why there is still time to effect all these changes, I think there is a lot to be improved if we want the Nigerian education system to be at the same level with the global standard. There's a lot that still needs to be done.
All right, that's how much we can take on this. I wish we could have an elongated period of time, but perhaps someday, somehow, we'll still have this conversation. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
As we have heard today, the future belongs not just to the most brilliant minds, but to the most well-rounded individuals. Academic excellence opens doors, but all-round development teaches us how to walk through them, lead others, and thrive in a complex world. Nigeria doesn't need to choose one over the other. The real task is finding the balance. Many thanks to Chief Olanshile Ogunrinu for joining us this day. And I'm your host, Anulova Poido, and this has been The Big Story on Daybreak Live. The show continues as we switch our focus to Trend Watch segment, but that will be shortly after the break. Join us again.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? To broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live Extra right here on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, your inspiration with our Dominion cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. It is time for Trend Watch on this show this morning. Anulu Ayemi Adelakun and Anulu Apoedu are both here with me in the studio.
Definitely, and we're glad to be back here.
Welcome back.
Well done, Anu. That was an interesting
Whoever tells one, it is immaterial. What matters is we're together. And we have to talk about something trending, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot.
So, Pastor, we're in Rivers State, actually. A lot is happening in Rivers. Pastor David Ibiyomi has come out to say, look, the tussle between Years of Wike and Siminalayi Fubara, who happens to be the governor of Rivers State as we speak, is not ordinary. It is spiritual. So, even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu cannot solve the current crisis in Rivers State. So, if the president cannot, then who will?
It's really, this issue is getting serious.
Should we really be talking about spiritual when we are talking politics, or should we just put one aside and then discuss the other?
Yeah. I think normally we are not supposed to mix politics with religion, but then for what we've seen over the years, politics, is now working hand in hand with religion, and then you see that politicians will always make use of religion even when they are contesting.
As a tool.
Exactly, regardless of the fact that Nigeria is a secular state, we see religion mixed with politics. But then speaking about his claim, I think when it comes to issues around politics, we always have several theories. So as much as we might want to say, okay, this is religion, we cannot really mix it with politics, it's an angle, it's a valid argument for him to say that, and he has every right to come out and say that, okay, this is spiritual. And then I think he's laying claim to certain things to say that it is a pattern in Rivers State. For instance, he said that Peter Odili fought his benefactor Rufus Ada George, and Chibuike Ameti fought Peter Odili, and who helped him become governor. And Nyesom Wike battled Ameti, his own boss. Now Fubara is taking on Wike, and he said it's a pattern. So if Fubara is not careful, the next person that will become governor after him also have the same issue. So when we see patterns like that, we should begin to look at how well we can actually solve this whole puzzle. It's a puzzle now. And he said he doesn't think the president will be able to solve this issue. I really do not want to agree with that. And then I have my reasons, because at the end of the day, the major reason why Fubara left PDP is because he said PDP could not save him the first time.
So he went to the APC for protection.
He went to the APC for protection. So if the ruling party, in quotes, and of course, the political strategy is one of the best politicians in Africa, whether I like it or not, who is the leader of the party and the president, if he cannot save him, then it's an indictment in a way. So I want to believe that the matter will be resolved soon, and whether something like this will happen again in Rivers State, I don't know, because currently the new report that I have on this matter is the fact that the judge, Amadi, said he's not going to set up a panel, a 7-man panel to investigate Fubara's case. And so because of that, the matter cannot progress. So they are in a fix now. So it depends on what is going on. Let's also forget the game that is playing right now, because at the time, 2 lawmakers came out to say, we are no longer in this impeachment process. 2 more joined. Later, the 4 of them came together. It was looking like a Nollywood movie. 4 of them came back and then said, okay, we are fully in this impeachment process again. It's an issue. I don't want to believe that this will not be solved. At the end of the day, politics is about interest.
So someone, just before I know comes up, but someone said, it could be monetary, one way or the other. Okay, the fund did not get the funds on time, so they withdrew, and the moment the funds came in, they said, okay, we are also part of all of this again. But then that's just an assertion on the street. It's not what is actually there for everyone to see. So it's not a claim, actually.
Okay, so let me start with what Yemi first mentioned, that, he mentioned what he said, Pastor Ibiyomi, based on patterns, right? There's a saying, whoever is the governor, which from Fubara, get his work done. It's just how many more years to finish. Let the people enjoy the benefit of this government. This government has not had the time to rest or to even do what's supposed to do. So in a way, it's affecting the people. You might not see it as affecting you, but it's affecting the people that are supposed to be governed rightly. It's affecting the people that are supposed to have dividends of democracy, dividends of the government of Siminalayi Fubara. So whatever you do, let the people come first. And I think this is how we can speak truth to power as well. Not just follow them to just tackle, because this can go on and on and on. We'll keep talking about this, but let's talk about the people, because it is actually the people that are voting, it's the people that you rule over, it's the people that are your subject that you should focus on. So I think attention should be paid not just to the politics and all of the theatrics around it, but the people. And that's my point.
Yeah, and just to conclude on this, I want to believe that if at the end of the day this will be resolved, Fubara must have been able to pick up one lesson or the other. So anything you are agreeing to now, be sure you can keep to it, because we don't want issues whereby, okay, say you agree to this and then you are not fulfilling your duties in that line. So anything is going to agree to, ensure that you can keep to it.
Well, lastly, before we go, I just want to quickly say this before we leave this particular on this one is start two things that the political elites have been able to weaponize in Nigeria. One is religion, the other is poverty. And they've been working hand in hand, because when you check the strata, you check the information out there, you realize the fact that this is basically what is happening. And I want us as a country to separate religion from politics, and religious leaders should stop aiding and abetting political class. I think until that is done, Nigeria will continue to run in circles. All right, that will be the convenient point to leave it on this show this morning. So thank you for joining us all through the week. Do well to link up with us again next week, same station, same time, from Monday all through to Friday on Daybreak Live Extra. Samson Balogun is my name. Keep being good out there. Keep being safe. Bye for now.
All right, my name is Oluwayemi Adelako. I say thank you for being a part of the show. Do well to join us on Monday. And until then, please be safe. Bye for now.
And I'm Anu Luakpo. We enjoy the weekend and have fun. Bye for now.